Hello everyone, my name is Nabilah. I'm from IPSE 2019. So, I will explain about the global warming, but not only the global warming, I will explain also the science behind the global warming, that physics, chemistry, biology, and also technology and engineering and mathematics I will explain also in this video. So the first, I will explain to you about the atmosphere. So the atmosphere has four layers based on the temperature. There are troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. The atmosphere is like an invisible jacket which is useful for protecting the Earth against external disturbance such as meteors, comets, and solar radiation. The atmosphere is an insulating blanket that traps heat and keeps temperature sustainable for life, neither too hot nor too cold. So, why the temperature in Earth still increasing? So, I will explain how the process of the global warming occur based on physics. So, the sun emits solar radiation, which is energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. A bit less than half of the radiant energy from the sun is in the form of visible light. So, here is the visible light. Energy and wavelength are related inversely. The longer the wavelength of a wave, the less energy it carries. Visible light has higher energy and shorter wavelength compared to infrared radiation. So, I will explain how the process of the global warming occurs. So, the atmosphere is the transparent to visible light. Most of the light transmitted through the atmosphere is absorbed by the ground, although some of the reflect back to space before it even reaches Earth's surface. When the light energy that reaches the ground is absorbed, the ground is turned warm up and emits energy. But energy that Earth's surface emits, which is called terrestrial radiation, has less energy and longer wavelength than the oncoming energy. Instead of being in the visible part of the spectrum, terrestrial radiation is infrared, although the atmosphere is transparent to short-wave visible light. It does not allow the infrared wave to freely pass through. Carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere absorb the warning terrestrial radiation, re-emit it, and reabsorb it many times before it can escape into space. Thus, energy becomes trapped in the atmosphere by greenhouse gases, and this causes the temperature rise. The process of trapping terrestrial radiation to leading to increased atmosphere temperature is called the greenhouse effect. So, what the cause of global warming? First is combustion of vehicle fuel. Most of our energy used for electricity and transportation today comes from the burning of fossil fuel, which generates carbon dioxide as a byproduct. Sometimes the combustion is not complete, which results in production of carbon monoxide. Here is chemical reaction about combustion of carbon, methane, octane, ethanol, hydrogen, and diesel fuel. The product is contain carbon monoxide and heat. So, from the biology, carbon monoxide looks like oxygen to your body, so your body uses carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. For this reason, high concentration carbon monoxide can be deadly. If inhaled, carbon monoxide flows from the lungs into the bloodstream, where it attacks to the hemoglobin molecule that normally carry oxygen. Oxygen cannot flow to the hemoglobin molecule, which is already filled with carbon monoxide. As X-force contains, carbon monoxide takes up more hemoglobin molecule, so the blood gradually loses its ability to carry sustained oxygen to the body. Without, without sufficient oxygen, individual cells become weak and die. especially in vital organs such as the brain and heart. So the second is use of CFC producing equipment. This chemical were once commonly used spray cans and for cleaning machine parts. Chlorofluorocarbons stay intact until they travel up to the stratosphere where they finally disintegrate, releasing chlorine. The chlorine reacts with ozone molecule, leaving behind ordinary diatomic oxygen, which does not block incoming ultraviolet radiation. So this is the chemical reaction. The Cl atom react with O3 giving off O2 and ClO. Two ClO molecules combine to form Cl2 and O2. When Cl2O2 encounters of ultraviolet light, it dissociates, generating O2 and two chlorine atoms. So as you can see, chlorine atoms are used in the first step but produced in the third. This means that few chlorine atoms can repeat this sequence of reaction again and again, destroying a great many ozone molecules. So the third is forest burning. Trees store a lot of carbon in their wood, and when forest fires occur, this causes the release of large amount of carbon dioxide into the air. So the impact of the global warming, the big thaw and rising seas, retreating glacier, thinning sea ice, and the permafrost melts are line of evidence to support the fact that the world is warming. And the second is changing in ocean water. So global warming is changing the chemistry of seawater is by decreasing the amount of salt or salinity it contains. As new fresh water enters the ocean from melting ice, it helps dilute the salt. One of the main forces driving the current in the ocean is density. The difference in the density of polar and tropical water help to move the currents along. As ocean water becomes warmer and less salty, the density differences become narrower. And the next is changing in water patterns. To a climate scientist, extreme weather is just what would be expected as the surface of the planet warms. The reason has to do with some simple physics. The fourth is changing in living things. The global warming can have tremendous impact on different ecosystems in the world. As a result, some scientists predict that as many as 1 million species of plants and animals may be threatened with extinction if the global warming continues. And the next is social impact. As climate patterns shift, so will a region's ability to produce food. Many countries of the world are already facing several shortages of clean water and food. Then the resulting food crisis will be a big one. So here is the solution of the global warming. The first is changing energy use patterns. Many things that nation and individual can do to help reduce their carbon footprint. The first and easiest step begin with conservation, such as turning off unused light and appliances. If you burn a 100-watt light bulb for 10 hours, you consume more energy than if you keep in one for only 1 hour. Here is the mathematical formula for calculating the use of electrical energy. So here is the example. So for the engineering to changing energy use patterns is build a sustainable house. So here is the project from group 1, the sustainable house. So why is the sustainable house? Because we use the material building, it's pebble or like clay. So pebble can be heat insulation, so it can keep the room temperature unaffected by hot weather in outside. And we use also for windows and for a mirror is tinted glass and low E glass because low E glass can limit the amount of condensation that may occur due to temperature difference between the outside and the inside the building. So it helps in improving the energy efficiency of the home. So changing patterns of energy change. In order to make a serious dent in greenhouse gases, there has to be a major shift away from using fossil fuels to generated electricity. In the next slide, I will show the technology for generating electrical energy without fossil fuel. The first is nuclear power plant. A nuclear power plant produces electricity by converting heat generated by splitting atoms into steam, which term a turbine. Here is hydroelectric. Hydroelectric or water power is non-polluting, non-greenhouse gas generating source of electricity that currently is providing 60% of the world's electricity. Here is Heliad X12MW. Heliad X will help make offshore wind a more cost-effective and competitive source of clean energy. So here is the technology and engineering such as wind generator, solar power plant, photovoltaic energy, and solar roof. So solution of global warming is transportation fuel. The transportation sector relies heavily on fossil fuels. There are several things that can be done to change the transportation sector so that it less dependent on oil. One of the solutions is to have all electric vehicles that can be recharged periodically using electricity generated from renewable sources, and also increase the use of biofuel, which are made from plant and another organic material. So the solution is changing land use patterns, selective cutting of trees, and replanting trees of the same species. In this way, the forest ecosystem will be able to survive with only minimal damage. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you for watching.